I'm actually going to try to pull up on my phone, make sure everything's good.
What?
Hopefully. Oh wait, it only catches this. I just entered in my password.
Want to welcome everybody to the live stream.
I hope no one's gonna be on there quite yet. He just posted.
Son and I decided we was going to, while he was here this summer, kind of have a fire once a week. Try to at least once a week, and just sit around and talk about sports. Talk about kind of what it was like growing up in sports for myself, for him, going to sport events. We thought we would just have fun enjoying and talking sports. We kind of two different kind of lifestyles growing up. I grew up, well, some of it was the same. You got to go. You went to the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, didn't you?
I don't think so. You might have just lost Wi-Fi. There's one person, that's me. You're talking to no one.
Did you ever go to Fayetteville Motor
so.
Speedway? And I know we went to, I can't think of the track. I want to say it was done something. I remember when my brother came from Florida and we went to the local track. Both of them local dirt tracks. I kind of, we're a little bit different between you and I. When growing up, for those that are catching the show out of Ohio, especially the Dayton area, we grew up going to Killcare and Shady Bowl. They were asphalt tracks. They were local tracks for us. But that's where kind of our paths go differently growing up. I played baseball. I played football. In a bowling league, those kind of things.
Oh, you're in a bowling league?
I was in a bowling league.
Oh, you nerd.
I was in a bowling league. I was on a chess team for a little bit, too.
Oh, you suck.
I like some chess.
You're going to have to teach me later. I don't know the rules.
I definitely will. We'll sit down and play some chess. I enjoy chess.
Once again, I hope you know you're not talking to anyone.
Bold. People catch a replay. Bold. You had the, I don't know, unfortunate of living in a house that, for the most part, especially when you're younger, everything was sports. It was football, it was basketball, it was racing.
I have a question. In the future, you remember how 10 years ago, might have been even more, you had the dry wall?
Yeah.
Wall. Are you ever going to bring that back?
I'd love to bring that back. And for those that don't know what he's talking about, we used to live in a house, a Goldfinch in Cameron, North Carolina. And we had a dry, I don't remember where we got the drywall. I don't know if I bought it specifically for it or we just happened to have it at the house. But I had a board and we took a bunch of sports figures, different athletes, and put it on a board that was behind me. So every show that we did, there was a bunch of sports figures. There was a background to it. That's something that we would like to do, or even with a green screen and be able to do some of that kind of background stuff.
I was just telling Hunter about the wall too. That's why it was making me think of it, because he was talking about how later on he wants to try to do stuff like this, like the live stream and all that. And I was like, he's been doing this for a while. Honestly, him having other people, that's awesome.
And we was talking earlier. As a matter of fact, we went to the gym today. I've been actually at the gym more times in the last week than I'd been probably in the last year. That's one of the things that we're trying to do these 8 weeks that I'm in town, or he's in town. For those that don't know much about or caught the last shows, I went to North Carolina, got him. He stays in North Carolina. I lived down there for 23 years. And so while he's in town, we're trying to do the whole gym thing, get back into the rhythm of the gym thing for myself, both get in shape before this summer ends. But we walked out to the gym and we were talking about, I wish I would have done things differently. Talking about, we've been doing this for 12 years and he's had to listen to this stuff for 12 years. He's had to listen to shows. He's had to
be. It may sound like I hated it. I did enjoy seeing you happy, and plus, it's always fun, to go to these events, meeting interesting people that most people would wish to talk to.
Oh yeah, But not so much that you did. But I know times it was difficult. Times you guys had to be quiet. Even though we had a pretty good sized house on Goldfinch, and even as big as that house was, unfortunately, he used to call it. Even though he could say computer, you would call it the computer comp room. Yeah. Don't know why, but it was the computer comp room. He's in the computer comp room.
I don't know either. Don't judge.
But
it was like the world's weirdest speech impediment.
The TV had to be down to a certain volume. Everybody had to keep down to a certain volume while I did the shows, because even as big as that house was, unfortunately, that room was right next to the front living room, and that's where everybody watched TV.
You make us sound rich.
So, no, but it was a nice size house.
Yeah, it was. Having the front and back living room.
Yeah.
And the back one having the real wood floor. That was really nice.
Yes.
I wish we still had that.
Yes. But, somebody can say was, I know people made a lot of sacrifices for us to do this for the last 12 years. The first, God knows how many years that we lived together. And then even the last 4 years with me doing the show here in Ohio, and the sacrifices that are going to be made, people be out of the room, the quietness and everything. But with talking on the walk, though, I was kind of ahead of the game. Like 12 years ago, podcasts were a new thing. Blogs were a new thing. And this was before the whole YouTubers and TikTokers and Instagram influencers. I hate that word, but influencers. And like I told you on the walk, I wish that I would have stayed hard and heavy, because there was one point in time that it was 7 days a week. I was doing 3-hour shows. Then I was doing shows 5 days a week, 3 hours. And then the other 2 days I was off, I'd actually jump on other people's shows. And even after those 3 hours on my days, I would jump on other people's shows as well and be part of those shows. And I wish that I never would have slowed down, because I would have had the following and the people, the listeners that, because there were shows that we had 5,000-10,000 people that listened to shows on a regular basis, and you're talking 5 days a week. And just imagine that transition into the YouTube era and the TikTok era and everything else. Life would be much different than versus me trying to push our YouTube presence in the last 2-3 weeks and trying to build these subscribers on a whole platform and a whole company that we've kind of been up and down. But anyway,
well, at least nowadays you got social media to try to help you out. You just gotta know how to target people and which people to target. People that you know for a fact will come back on a daily basis to see what you're posting, see what's going on.
People have no idea how real the struggle was back in the day. Twitter, I don't even know if you remember this or even knew. But back in the day when Twitter, you could only have 140 characters. Like, you had to get your whole tweet in 140 characters.
I remember that.
So now you could pretty much say what you want and do whatever you want. But I can remember when it was 140 characters, and so you had to fit what you wanted to say in 140 characters. That was all you was getting.
I also remember the time where I could go on Twitter and not see something extremely inappropriate. I also remember that period of time. Now each time I load up Twitter, it's either something inappropriate or completely stupid. That's why I don't have Twitter no more. I have 2 brain cells left. I'm planning on keeping those for a little while longer. Wait, just gotta say, my arm, you can't see none of the hair or anything, so I just look like I have a slight tan, and it's almost like thin. And you got your tattoos, your thick hair, your dark tan. So you just got me wimpy versus like cool guy over here with your friendship bracelet.
Hey, I love my friend Bruce. Hey, for those that don't know
you admit it.
The people don't know the backstory of this. I got to go to Cancun in January, and it was the coolest thing. That one of the guys at the resort walked up, and he was, wanted to know what color we wanted, and I picked the Cleveland Browns color. And he literally just took a bunch of strings. It looks like all it looks like he did was just wind it up, go 1, 2, 3, like slap it against a wall, and then all of a sudden it's together and done. Like, it was the craziest thing ever. And so yeah, I've been sporting the whole bracelet since then. I just thought it was the coolest thing.
At least you admit that's a friendship bracelet.
But me and old dude we're friends now. Probably never see him again in Cancun, but
I don't know. One day you and I will have to go see if we can find him.
Kind of sports related. And for those that don't, well, I would say, because I've not talked about this whole series. This is something we're probably going to do try to do 6 to 8 of the weeks he's here. He's going to be here for about 8 weeks. I know there's 1 week we're going to be in Hocking Hills, so I don't know how that's going to play out. And we got a few family things that Dayton Dragon games and everything else. So we're going to try to figure this out, that we do this a good at least handful of times. So we're only going to be on the stream 20, 30 minutes. So we have enough content spread out. This is unrehearsed. Just kind of shooting at the hip, talking about stuff. What's your first memory of going to any kind of sports?
As I said earlier, my memory starts. Honestly, I had a lot of memories. I can't tell which one was first. I just remember doing stuff like going to Florida for those sort of races with Kurt.
So that would be probably my first. I would say you were 5. No, you were 4.
Ah.
4 and some change. Because that was February of 2011. And so you would have turned 4 in September of 2010. And he's talking about the Daytona 500. My first Daytona 500 was his first Daytona 500. We got to go to the 2011 Daytona 500. It was the year that Trevor Bayne put Wood Brothers back into victory lane.
How can you remember all that, but you can't remember my own phone password? I mean, that would be important to know. Got you there.
I don't even know my wife's phone password. I got to ask her every time I touch her phone. I try not to touch the phone.
I remember yours because that's like every password. Even at home.
But yeah, that's probably my first memory for you as well, is going to the Daytona 500. I think it was the first time I'd seen my brother in 20-something years at that point in time as well.
All right, let's avoid going down the depressing trail.
He lived in Florida pretty much my whole life, and him and my father didn't talk much, just like me and my father don't talk much now. And
your dad slightly sucks.
So it just, I got a good handful of years in before he passed away, but there was no bitter feelings or anything else. We just hadn't talked, and the only part that really sucks about that whole situation is knowing, after going to see him and seeing how quick of a drive it was from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Daytona, Florida.
That was a long drive.
Yeah, it was quick. It's quicker to go from there to there to going from where we lived in North Carolina to here to Ohio. So I would have took that trip any day of the week. And that's why I ended up seeing my brother as much as I did before he passed away, and saw Josh and Connor. Those are my nephews.
We gotta see them in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's my first memory as well for you. My first memory of an actual NASCAR race for myself was actually while I was in the military. I went to an all-star race. I was out of the military, so it had to be the 600 race in 2001.
That just made you sound so old.
Yeah, feel so old. That's my first memory of an actual NASCAR race. Now, growing up, we went to Reds games. I was safety patrol for the school. I got free tickets doing that. I know my father took us. I remember going to a Cincinnati Bengals versus the Green Bay Packers game. I'm sure I went to another Cincinnati game. I was the only one in the family who was not a Bengals fan. I was a Browns fan. Everybody else was Bengals fans. But race-wise, that was probably, we went to that race, that Daytona 500. That was probably my second NASCAR race, if I remember correctly, ever going to. First one was the 600. And actually, my father came down from North Carolina for that race. He actually paid for the tickets for that race. And I ended up meeting him down there at the track.
In the future, if I get invited to one of the NASCAR events, they always give like a month to month and a half in advance because they want RSVPs back from the people in the group. But do you want to try to come with?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. They're going to, of course, try to get me on their teams and stuff for welding and all. But also, there's going to be competitions and all. That's going to be fun.
Now, I think we're kind of stick on the whole racing and NASCAR aspect of the sports on this episode. I know you went to, as a matter of fact, I know you went to 2 more races. You went to 2 more 600s. You went one 600 race with Miss Brandy. She was part of the 110. She did some shows with us. That was the one we was talking about when we was talking about what races you've been to, and that was when you got hot and sat by the concession stands.
Oh yeah, because I almost puked.
Yeah, and then I talk about this race all the time. Right before I moved back to Ohio, we went to race together. We went to a 600, and Martin Truex led like almost every single lap. It was like the world's fastest, most boring race because Martin Truex led like every lap. It was right before, so it was the 600 in 2019. You and I went to that race. Actually, the guy, my vendor from Coke, gave us the tickets, and we went to that race. Can't remember any other races we've been to.
I can, but those were fun.
Now, I know we were supposed to go to Eldora. Was we supposed to go to Eldora while you was in town last year? I can't remember when the Eldora race. We had tickets for Eldora. We was going to go to Eldora because Eldora is right up the road from us. Well, no, I'm going to say right up the road, probably an hour or so. But it ended up raining out. I know we had tickets, but I can't remember if you were in town when we were supposed to go to that or not.
I'm not sure. I think I remember hearing about it, but I'm not sure if I was supposed to be going or if I was not there for that. I don't think I was there for that. I think I left right before.
I couldn't remember when the event was, when we had tickets for that. Even at 3 races, that's 3 NASCAR races and some local tracks. That's not a bad life. I can say in my lifetime as a spectator, I went to the 600 in 2001. I went to that. I went to 2 Daytonas because in either 2018 or 2019, I went to the Daytona 500 with my nephews. And I know with my brother, we probably did 2 or 3 400 races at Daytona. I think I did 4 or 5 races at Daytona as a spectator. I did Charlotte 3 times, the 600 3 times as a spectator. I did the All-Star race once as a spectator. I did Rockingham with Devlin. I called him Purple Teletubby. I don't remember if you remember him.
Yes.
He's the one that actually took me to the All-Star race.
The only way I remember him is Teletubby.
Teletubby.
Yes. Whatever happened to him?
He comments every once in a while on my Facebook. We're still friends, so shout out to Teletubby. I'll make sure that I tag him and let him know we shout out to him. I actually took him to the Rockingham. It was funny because he used to be one of those that would talk garbage. When I worked in Brooklyn, we would have the race on the weekends, and we constantly had sports on. And he always did the whole comedian Jeff Dunham or whatever. In one of the pubs, he always talk about left turn. So that's all you would hear the whole time you're trying to watch a race at the pizza shop is him talking about left turn, until I took him to Rockingham. There was 2 years that they returned to Rockingham. It was a truck race. The first year we went to, Casey Kane won the number 4 truck. And after that race, I never had to hear left turn ever again.
Now you don't have to hear from me just because you said that. Because I love Jeff Dunham.
Teletubby was sold on some NASCAR. Like I said, that was like that next year, the second year after that. He ended up buying all-star tickets for me and him to go to. He was notorious. I can't tell you how many race or how many WWE events I got to go to because he would buy tickets to take me with him. I know as a spectator, the wife and Hunter, the youngest, we went to Indy. We did the road course because they stopped doing the Brickyard. They're bringing the Brickyard back. I would like to watch it as the Brickyard versus the road course. And that might be it for spectator. But I've also done Martinsville, I've done Charlotte, I've done Bristol, I've done Miami Homestead. And it seems like I'm missing a track that I've done as media. And Kentucky. I've done Kentucky as media as well. And then I've done all the series and to include the ARCA series when it comes to as media. So when I talk about sports and getting and doing stuff, I try to always make sure I catch myself because just talking NASCAR wise, and we'll get into because we've gone to football games together, we've gone to Browns games together, and we'll talk about this in another episode. We've gone to
Ohio State.
we've gone to there was another time I went to
You remember the Camel game?
Camel University. We've done Dane Dragons together, so we got plenty more, and that's why we're just kind of hitting on one topic tonight. But that's why, and not even just the races. I've gotten to go to. I want to say it's called Bear Creek. I can't remember the little. They're in these little what look like go-kart sprint cars. I was literally sitting right next to Casey Kane. Kyle Larson was out there. You're talking a handful of years ago. It was a race day. It was the weirdest thing. Like you drove out in the middle of outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Like it was in the middle of nowhere. You took this back road, dirt road, all the way back. You had these two random people sitting at kind of like an entranceway when there's nothing but grass on both sides. And you let them know who you are and they guide you back. And then all of a sudden you see this little go-kart track that literally look like the big sprint cars, but they're go-kart version size of them. And it was the coolest thing to sit out there. And you had so many big names. It was just kind of in the cut, hidden spot. And all these big dog names were out there racing, having fun because it was very limited on who knew was out there. I wish I remember the guys that I just got emails the other day from them. They're actually the ones that got me on the media credentials for that and had me go out there. They had been on the show. We had a great relationship with them. I still got a relationship with them. They send emails. I've gotten to interview the first year that they had the chase and all the drivers. All the times that I've been in the media center and all the different drivers I've gotten to talk to, just on the NASCAR aspect of it alone, I have done more than most people get to do in a lifetime. And so I always catch myself when I sit there and think, man, I ain't done this or I ain't done that.
Yeah, remember what I was talking about earlier about how you doing what you're doing, I've been able to go to events and meet certain people that some people dream of meeting. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you fully start listening off. You're like, whoa, I've done a lot.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Even and just sitting there, listening to you talk about, sitting there thinking about, they had what they called the Canassie Sound Garage. I got to go 2 years. One of the years we actually took Lyons, Kayla Lyons. She was one of the racers in South Carolina. We sponsored her car. We had her on the show all the time. We took her one of the years, and I got to meet Cassidy Pope, a country singer. 3 Horse Down, I got pictures with him. I got pictures with Kyle Larson 2 different years. Mr. Chip Canassie himself. It was just a private event, and it was just the people you get to meet and be around. It just kind of the coolest thing, and you don't really, like, all this was just accident. Like, none of this was supposed to be my path.
When it's not planned, it doesn't feel real. You feel like you're dreaming.
The 2 craziest parts about all this, and we'll start to get things wrapped up for tonight's episode, is
why can't we do an hour?
well, I don't even know how long we can shoot longer. Is one, I came across an ad, didn't even know what I was signing up for. And it wasn't until the end that they informed you what you were signing up for. And then actually how I signed up in the whole blog thing.
That's how you get scammed.
Yeah, they wanted to charge you $50 a month to run and be on their, basically underneath their umbrella. And you couldn't even change your domain. It was a domain that had nothing to do with the title of your stuff. And so I had to go through the whole process of getting out of that, learning the whole GoDaddy process, getting my own domain and everything else. And hell, I didn't even know what a blog was at the time. I had someone come to me like, look, dude, you're being a street reporter. You're not being a blog. Like, blog, you got to throw your own opinions in here. You're just straight reporting the facts.
You get to say what you get to say as long as it's not like too inappropriate.
Yeah. So like I had to learn that it wasn't just spitting facts. Like I get to have my opinions based off the facts. And I was like, oh, I could definitely do this. Like I don't just gotta just straight be a reporter. Like
it goes straight from reading off a script to what's off the top of your head.
Yeah.
It makes it more creative, more fun, more interesting, all that.
And I was like, I'm doing this for about a month. Then someone's mentioned on a post somewhere talking about a podcast. Well, podcasts were new then. I'm like, what is a podcast? Like I had to Google and ask people what a podcast was. And I can remember doing my first podcast.
And when was this that you were Googling it?
2011.
I was about to say, if it's more recent, I could have told you.
No.
I would have been laughing at you.
2011.
At least it was 2011. I wouldn't have laughed at you then.
I remember my first podcast. Well, I was in the computer comp room. And it was first thing in the morning. I scheduled the show for 15 minutes because I didn't know if I could talk for 15 minutes. Like, I don't know. Can I come up with enough stuff to talk for 15 minutes?
Once you start talking, you can just ramble on.
Yes.
We're all like that.
And I remember I was so quiet. I was just barely talking. You couldn't hear anything. I was
nervous?
I didn't want anybody to hear me. I didn't want the people in the next room to hear me because I'd never done this before. And then quickly, and after that, it was 2-hour, 3-hour shows. I remember one of the shows at the beginning, for some reason, I had to hit the mute button. And I talked on that episode for 3 hours, muted. Nothing was heard the entire 3 hours.
I've done that in the past. One time I was trying to make a YouTube video, and yes, I used to make YouTube videos. And I was streaming I was recording it for about 30 minutes. And then I noticed that my headphones, as you're speaking, you can hear yourself, like perfect timing. It just makes you louder so then you don't accidentally start stuttering and stuff. It doesn't do a layover and all. And I was wondering why I couldn't hear myself, why I sound so quiet, why I was muffled. And I realized I didn't turn the mic on. I thought, okay, I just got the headset all the way down. No, all that recording was for nothing.
It's crazy, but I think the craziest part is looking back. Like I said, I'm just sticking to the NASCAR aspect of everything. Just looking back at the people I've gotten to talk to, the people that I've gotten to be around, the people that we have gotten on the show, the Ben Rhodes or the Jennifer Jo Cobbs or Bobby Allison's kid. I think it's Bobby Allison Jr. We had Big Sweat, and I cannot think of his name to save my life. He used to crew chief, this is before your time, but he used to crew chief Tim Richmond. He actually put Jimmy Johnson in his first car. He was one of the people that helped create the movie Days of Thunder. He was on the show. He had his show Racing with Big Sweat on our network up until he passed away. The names and the people because of him that we had on the show. Even to drivers that are still racing today that are still kind of working their way up through the ranks, like your Natalie Deckers and your Amber Balkans that we had on the show, or Hannah Newhouse when she's racing now. She does broadcast for MRN Radio and different racing networks. Just the different, and sometimes I think everybody in the house think I'm just throwing out names. Because we'll sit there and watch races. I'm like, he's been on the show, or he's been on that show, or he's been on that show, or that person's really cool. It really blows your mind, especially in the racing world, because they're more they're more giving with their time. How many different drivers have actually come on the show and gave us their time, especially being just a small company, being some, we're not the ESPN and the FS1s and even the Bleacher Reports of the world, but how many different athletes have given, 15, 20, 30 minutes of their time and come on the show, or, I have conflicted thoughts when it comes to Bubba Wallace. And this is a big heated topic, even still today, even after the whole stuff that went on during COVID. Bubba, I had actually two drivers I had an arranged interview with. One of them was Kyle Larson at Martinsville. I was supposed to meet him, Kyle Larson. Traffic got backed up. I did not make the interview in time, and so I did not make it early enough before the race to get to actually sit down with Kyle Larson by himself. That race, Junior ended up winning the race. As much as I did not like Dale Jr., that was the funnest time I've ever had in the media center. And I was there when Jeff Gordon retired. I have been there after many drivers have won or whatever the case may be, but listening to Dale Jr., it was the greatest, funnest, go happy time I've ever been in the media center. But the other one that was set up was, well, actually there was two other ones set up. There was another one set up with David Reagan and RJ Mitty, I think it's his last name, off of Breaking Bad. I got to do an interview, actually did an article for NASCAR.com. Got an opportunity to interview both of them. We ended up talking about the Shriners.
Hey, time out. Which character was he?
He had whatever he has in real life. They used that in in his character in the TV show Breaking Bad. I'm not. I have to show you a picture of him later. I don't remember.
Because I love that series.
I didn't watch that particular series. I've watched a few episodes, but it was supposed to be just an article with David Reagan. It was set up that I got an interview and I was doing an article for NASCAR.com, and it just so happened RJ Mitty was there, and it ended up being a whole piece and talking about the Shriners. But the other one that was set up was with Bubba Wallace. And this is where I have my conflict when it comes to Bubba Wallace, because I was allotted a 20-minute time frame. I could have talked for an hour. He was never going to cut me off. He was very gracious with his time. He even called me from his cell phone number. So I could have had his personal phone number and everything else. I respected his privacy. I respected the time frame. And he just so happened to win the race the night before in the Truck Series at Kentucky. So he was the
Here's a list. Pull him up.
He was the right there.
What?
RJ Mitty.
Oh, you suck.
Like I said, I sit back here and think about the people. Like I said, with the Bubba Wallace thing, give me all the time in the world. I had a whole article and got a whole phone interview conversation with them sitting in the parking lot at Kentucky Motor Speedway. But yeah, just the different people that I've gotten to meet, it's just so insane to me.
Yeah, meet the son of Walter White.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes. I just couldn't get into it. Not that it was a bad show. Some things I just can't. I can't bring myself to keep watching.
The character he played, Walter White, the high school chemistry teacher that later on becomes like the meth scientist that is Heisenberg. He has a son that has a disability.
Yeah, he has a real life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
One of the best characters, because at the end he becomes like extremely powerful. Like Walter White, he's like multi-millionaire. Everybody's scared of him. But then at the end, if I remember correctly, he pulls a knife on Walter White, even though that's his dad. And it just twists the entire thing. Walter White at the top, now he's at the bottom. And I haven't finished the last couple episodes. I might finish that later. I'm jealous now, though. Just the fact that you got to meet him.
I said it's the only, out of all the race events I got to, the only thing, I'm not going to say regret because I couldn't change it, even if I wanted to, even if I can go back in time. The only thing that sucked was being media. You can't ask for autographs. It's against the rules, the ethics, whatever.
Hey, you should have brought me along with. I can ask for autographs.
So all these people that I got to meet, and the wall of autographs I could have at this point. Now I do have a couple of them where we got to the race, either the race weekend, and say we got there on a Friday. We didn't have anything to do during the day Saturday or early Sunday. We would go out to the different hospitality tents. We would get, different goodie bags. If it'd be a free toothbrush or a free seat or whatever the case may be, whatever they were giving away. And there was times that there were drivers out there. I got Austin Dillon's autograph. There's a couple other drivers. I do have their autographs from it. But most of the time, we just stayed in the media. And depending on which track it was, Atlanta was another one I did media. I forgot that I did Atlanta. I think I might have done Atlanta twice. If not, I know I at least did it once. And that was actually, that was the first track that I went to, was Atlanta. I went to Atlanta in fall of '95. It was my senior year in high school. Pretty much Jeff Gordon, all he had to do was start his car and he won his first championship. And the track looked completely different. I almost forgot. That was my first race, was Atlanta. But yeah, you just sit back and think about all the people you've gotten to meet, either actual drivers or people outside of driving, people that you have these long relationships with. People
anyone connected with that stuff, if you get to meet them, it's always impressive.
Yeah.
Because just being able to say that you're in the room with that person alone, that's cool. But being able to say that I was able to talk to them, I got to hang out with them, it just blows your mind. The places you've gone, people you've met.
It's crazy the people that I still have connections with. And to me, it's more got to do with the craziness of it, is the fact that I'm not with ESPN or not with Fox or not with NBC Sports, but the people and the different drivers and athletes that I can still reach out to, still get a response from. It really blows my mind, the different racing teams that we've had different relationships with. We could reach out to Venturini Motorsports right now in the ARCA series, and they would respond to us and give us a driver to put on the show and everything else.
Let's do it.
And it is something that I leave that to the Tuesday night show. We try on Wednesday night, Mario and myself, more so myself, I try to stay from the racing. And because we got a 2-hour show on Tuesday nights that's just race dominant, that's all they talk about. So I tried my hardest not to saturate the Wednesday show with racing or athletes from the racing world. I tried to implicate all the rest of the sports into it. Yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot Atlanta. My brother, my father, and Tommy, we all went to that race. I think that was probably the first time I snuck and drunk beer. I was 17.
You just snitched on yourself?
I think I was 17. I think either I snuck and drank it, or they didn't care and let us have one. I can't remember.
How you gonna snitch on yourself?
We're talking 30 years ago. Who's gonna care at this point?
You are a bad influence, I gotta say.
Atlanta was so much different back then. It's completely different and redone at this point.
You're gonna have to take me, show me.
Hell, Atlanta was a long haul from North Carolina. I can imagine how long of a haul. Excuse me. It is from
Ohio. You got any ashes in your nose?
From Ohio. It might be one I sneezed. I don't know.
Alright. Best way to describe it, I got white powder in my nose. Hopefully we don't get banned for that. I promise it is not drugs. Wink, wink.
Do you remember watching a lot of racing on TV?
With you in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember sitting down and being like 3 years old, trying to figure out, okay, who's he rooting for? Got to root for the same person. If not, then that's going to suck. And at a certain point, I just gave up. I'm like, okay, who have I seen in the past do very well? And I started getting my own opinions. Like, okay, I'm going to root for him because I recognize his face, I recognize the car, I recognize the number. And he's done very well in the past. And then, hilariously enough, the guy I was rooting for would pass the guy you're rooting for. And I just get excited, but I can't say anything.
And I'm not getting into the whole football thing, but I do want to ask, how difficult is it for you to be a Browns fan in North Carolina?
Oh, it's fun. One time I wore the Cleveland Brown hoodie that I got to a Broadway Easter event. And this dude, he was handing out these little bags of Easter eggs that had like candy and little wooden coins that had quotes on them. And I asked if I could buy one, and it was like $3. And he was packing up. I was like, I know this is the last second. If anything, I'll give you $5 for the bag. It's for my nephew. And he was like, good. Are you wearing that because you actually want to, or was that like a last second, I need something to wear to this? I'm like, no, I'm actually a fan. And then he took off his jacket. He had an Ohio State hoodie on. And it was cold at the time. So I didn't have to pay. He just gave it to me. He was like, you know what? I got you. Handed me the bag, and he was like,
I mean, I've met a lot of fans, a lot of Browns fans in North Carolina.
just not as many.
Yeah, but you know, you got those once you see your Browns fan. Oh, it's been rough to be a Browns fan, or oh this, or oh that. And to be all fair, I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, you could have picked another team if you really wanted to, but you were kind of forced into being a Browns fan. It was kind of, the clothes were shoved on you. Even back to when you were baby pictures, there was brown stuff on you.
Whenever I show my inner fan in public, it's always at the best time, because like the whole Easter thing. But also one time I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I got some wings, some fries. I was playing on the tablet because even though I was a teenager still, those dumb games are always still fun. I'm looking up at the screen and I realize, oh, Browns game's going on. So I'm having fun. I'm watching this. Can't remember how much they were winning by. They were winning by a little, not much. But still, it's awesome watching that. I didn't realize how much time was left. It was the end of the game. Everybody was like all upset because either they just lost money on the game, or the fact that Browns just destroyed their team. Even though it wasn't by much, still. It was by something, and Browns, of course, a lot of people talk crap about. So I'm cheering, everybody else is crying.
You went with us, think about the shirt on me. You went with us when we went to that dirt track in Florence, right? When
Bachelor's party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was we pulled up on Facebook. They were actually doing where 12 and under would have been free, so 100 would have been free, and it was $5 to get in. If it would have been an hour drive, we probably would have ended up at the track tonight. Yeah, it would have been cool, but you're talking at least an hour drive there, an hour drive back.
It's been worth it.
Yeah, well, when the funds are tight and you're talking gas money and get in.
True.
I'm sure we'll make it out to the Florence Speedway before you head back.
A little bit of door dashing.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal track. I like that track as well.
And the entire time Hunter was waiting for someone to crash, and then when they did crash, he got all upset about it. You've been waiting for this. Finally happens, and that's a bad thing. I mean, it's bad for the driver, that's for sure. They're probably hurt.
I'm hoping that before you go back, I've not been back to Killcare or Shady Bull since I've moved back. I have not been to Killcare or Shady Bull probably in 30 years. I know Killcare for the most part just does drag. They don't do a lot of oval racing. I think they got like 4 events this year. We actually looked into it, but I don't remember the dates. Shady Bull, I think they're a Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. They're outside of Columbus somewhere. So we're hoping to get out there to get to our local track, support our local track at some point this summer as well. I really wish there was something a little bit closer, but off the top of my head, I don't know of anything really closer. Trying to think if there was anything else race-wise. I know that I did speak, and I think you asked me about drag racing earlier, or at least that you've been here. Actually, you asked me about you said something about the Tesla.
Yeah, the quarter-mile drag racing with Teslas. With the acceleration speed, they almost always win. It's impressive to watch. You should watch it later.
Now, I know that I got to do an NHRA event for media at Charlotte. And that, I'm not a big drag racing guy. And it's not that I don't like the cars, it's not that it doesn't impress me. But at the end of the day, to me, you're simply just qualifying over and over. It's the fastest time that wins. To me, you're not actually racing. You're just qualifying over and over because the fastest time what wins. To me, racing involves
like techniques.
Well, no, it involves rubbing and drafting and strategy and pits and everything, not just okay, quarter mile done, quarter mile done, quarter mile done, quarter mile done. Don't get me wrong. We've had at the time she was 2-time champion. I don't know how she's won more champions since then. Erica Enders on the show. We've had Tina Snow on the show. We've had John Force's son-in-law on the show.
Are you just listening to people that's going to be mad at you later for this?
No. We've had them on the show. And as a matter of fact, Erica Enders, she said, anytime you're there, just let me know. You basically, you'd be part of the crew and hang out with us. Like, Erica Enders is phenomenally, and I hope she sees this at some point and hears this.
Why have we not done that?
It's hard getting, because other than the Charlotte race, the Charlotte track, there's nothing that has ever lined up. And I've not looked at where the closest track, Indy's probably the closest track to here. It never lined up at that point in time. There was supposed to be a time that was supposed to, the next time I went, and for some reason I didn't get to go to the next event. But I hope she does listen to the show. By far, hands down, one of the most phenomenal ever driver to be on the show. Really represents the NHRA top notch. Was great. I guarantee you she was on the show at least a handful of times. Anytime I've ever reached out to her, she has messaged me back or has replied. Like I said, I even messaged her while she was at the track. And when I got over there, the time when I was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway or the Charlotte drag race, whatever it's called, they were in the middle of changing everything over, so she was hectic busy. There was a lot going on, so I didn't want to interrupt anything. That was another event, but just to feel like I have never, and it's hard to explain. I've tried to explain this to people before, like when these cars are going down the track, like it feels like you could feel like all your different atoms or cells or whatever, and like they want to just go in different directions. It is the weirdest feeling, but it is so insane. I was right there,
the
and
adrenaline kicks in, and you just want to be everywhere. It's so amazing. It's like it will never happen again, even though it will, especially for you.
And there was NASCAR drivers there. I was standing right next to Bobby Labonte, and I forget who the other driver was right there. But just to feel like, it just felt like your body just kind of wanted to go in every direction. It was just the weirdest feeling. But it was a great feeling. Like, I had never experienced anything like this. I had been to 100 races in my lifetime at that point. But that was the first NHRA event, and just to feel what your body felt.
What's your editor's name?
Huh?
What's your editor's name?
My editor's name?
You don't got an editor? Who edits?
I do all the editing.
Oh. Well, later on, you're going to have to make sure you do like a recap of like all the different places you listed off and count it up, and then just put that part about the whole 100 races at this point. Just show a reference of how far off you are, how bad your math is.
I mean, if you count the ARCA Series races, the Truck Series races, the Xfinity Series races, the Cup Series races, the NHR races, even though I've only been to about 10 tracks, I've been to about 100 races.
Later on, we're going to have to figure it out, the exact amount, just so you can brag properly. Say the exact number if you're going to brag.
It's been a good life with it.
In the future, I should probably bring my laptop out for this, so we can actually read chat, see if anyone said anything. Because right now the closest thing we got to that is if I pull out my phone, but I'm scared someone's going to see my password.
See your password, you put it outside.
I'm
sure we're
gonna. Off and just like,
I'm sure we're gonna angle things differently next time and everything.
So then we're on that side.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, just let me.
After we go back and catch this live episode, we'll see what we can do. That's another thing great about this whole experience is getting to learn how to make the next episode even better. I'm working on, and I'm on the last day of There Is Only One Nation. For those that have not caught it, we're in week 8 of it. We kind of do behind the scenes stuff. I'm sure we'll make clips of this and put it on there for next week, episodes 9. Things we're doing behind the scene, get to see behind the scene as we continue to build what we're doing here. So.
I'm trying my best to get to twice even so anything.
How far are we in?
No clue. I'm still trying to. 50 minutes, 40 seconds.
So we about hitting that mark where we can start to. Anything else you can? The ashes are just coming down everywhere at this point.
Yeah. It sucks. Well, there's 2 other people in the stream. That's not me, shockingly. No one said anything other than at the very beginning I said welcome to the stream with a smiley face. And if anybody in the chat wants to say anything, please do. It's always fun to see familiar faces. Well, not faces, names. I'm not the brightest. See, my grades can say otherwise, but I got decent grades. There's that. But in all reality, I'm dumb. Feel like that. It's good to see familiar names and be able to talk to people viewing, see your opinions, talk about memories you guys have, see if this old man right here has shared memories. He's ancient, he's lived through a lot of that stuff. Yes, I'm just rubbing salt in the wound at this point. Don't worry though. You have your age, but at the same time, you can lift more than me at pretty much anything, which really sucks. It's fun though.
We'll throw this out there while we think of anything else we're gonna add up when we get wrapped up. One, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like I said, I really kind of missed the ball on this 12 years of doing this, and we would have stayed more focused on things. Who knows? We could have. I said the podcast and the blogs were kind of ahead of everybody, and I wish that we would have stayed ahead of everybody on all this stuff. But just subscribe to us, help us continue to grow, help us continue to upgrade and be able to build this bigger. Facebook, you guys can find us, The 110 Nation. Instagram, The 110 Nation, and on Twitter at The 110 Nation. So make sure you guys follow us, like us, all that kind of stuff. Tuesday nights, for those that are race fans, since tonight was more predominantly talking about our racing experiences and memories and things we've done together. Race Chat Live, 8 o'clock on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. You guys can catch that on Blog Talk Radio Live, or all our shows get syndicated. You can catch it on Spreaker, you can catch it on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere that you guys can catch podcasts. Or you can go over to www.the110 Nation Sports Radio Network. All the shows, videos, blogs, marketing partners, and all that is over on that. And there's actually tabs on that on our website that you can click on it, which will take you to your different platforms if you want to follow the shows over there as well. And of course, you got the 110 Nation Sports Show Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock. Mario and myself will be in the Carolina Sports Plus studio. He is my co-host. We've been longtime friends, and he's also one of he is our longest marketing partner. You guys can go to www.carolinasportsplus.com, order different sports stuff. I'm not gonna say just very competitive. There's not one thing that he has posted that he is not matched or beats everybody else's prices. So make sure you guys check him out. help support local people, local vendors as well. I'm looking forward to being on the show Wednesday night. Excuse me, as we'll talk about John Morant's 25-game suspension, Michael Jordan selling his majority ownership. I think he bought it something like for $180 million. 13 years later, he sells it for $3 billion. J. Cole, for those that are from the North Carolina area, definitely know who J. Cole is, but rapper J. Cole is one of the part owners now of the Charlotte Hornets. The Reds, I bet against them tonight on my picks. I shouldn't have. I thought maybe they would cool off, but ever since De La Cruz got promoted up to the Reds, they have been smoking hot. I think they've won something like 9 of the last 11 games. I was hoping tonight would be the night they finally cooled off, and I betted the other direction. Even with tonight's loss, I am up $5. I'll take it. $5 for the week. So
I'm going to tell you now, if you would have told me that name sooner, I could have told you, don't go against him. He's one of the, well, to me, I hear his name a lot. I know that he's known for his skills and all, because he's a good player. It's nothing to joke about.
You've seen him.
Yeah, he's nothing.
He played for the Dragons. You've been to a game and watched him play.
Hey, he's nothing to joke about. It's not like he's just an average player. So you should have known right there and then not go against him. Come on, man.
Well, I don't expect the Reds to win every game. Eventually, they got to lose.
It's going to be a while.
And they're playing in Houston, so I was taking a shot that this would be the night they finally lose.
Right, there's a difference between taking a shot in the dark and shot in the dark while drunk and high at the same time. That's what you're doing right now. If you hear his name, you shouldn't go against. At least not for a little while.
Yeah. Try to think if there's anything else. You think everything else we need to cover for you?
I got one thing to say. Mario, if you are watching this, you and I one day are going to have to say each other. You're going to have to introduce me to him one day because he sounds like a legend to this. He's been around for a while on this show. So I'm going to have to meet him one day.
And speaking of people who've been around the show, and I want to shout out to the staff real quick before we get out of here. Miss Lee, she has been with me since I want to say late 2012, early 2013. Chris has been with us since probably 2015-ish. I would say that Craig Moore has probably been around since 2016 or 17. And then Taz has been around, I want to say either 2018 or 19. A very solid staff. Always looking to grow for anybody that's interested. But I want to shout out to them. A lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, a lot of things that are put on behind the scene. Monday night we'll be releasing, since we're talking about racing tonight. Race number 3, we raced out at Eldora for the 110 Nation Racing Experience. It's basically an iRacing simulated series that Taz has put together. 12 racers looking to win a championship 6-race series. I can say honestly, last week I was on the edge of my seat hoping that I would come back. I was in second place. I was about 2 seconds behind. I got to within about a second behind the leader before me ran out of time. So looking forward to seeing how I've already gotten this week's episode. I make sure that I don't watch it until Monday night with everybody else, but it should hit the YouTube channel at 7 o'clock on Monday nights. So looking forward to that. I usually clip through a couple seconds of different segments of the actual race just to make sure everything downloaded properly. But until the actual night of the race, I do not know anything. I don't sneak peek and watch any of the race. I just make sure it downloads correctly, and then time it to come out at 7 o'clock on Monday night. So looking forward to that. NPRL or NRLP, and I really wish I could remember off the top of my head. We did do a partnership with them. They race on Wednesday nights. We're going to be doing some collaboration stuff with them, so I want to welcome them on board. I want to say it's NPRL, but looking forward to doing things with them as well. They had internet issues, a lot of their people where they were located at, so last week's race got postponed, but they should be going back live next Wednesday night. We'll be doing some radioactive videos and putting that on our channel. So that should be real fun and interesting to hear what's going on behind the scene as these guys are racing as well.
Before we end anything though, we gotta keep in mind, we gotta thank the people that made this stream possible. You know, not you and I, but the fact that Streamlab exists.
Streamlab, yeah, we had to kind of go around the YouTube app because we weren't able to use the YouTube app by itself. So
yeah, if you don't got enough subscribers, it'll try to say that you need to meet a certain goal before you can stream. But fun fact, there's this app called Streamlabs, which is really well known already, but obviously not enough because neither of us could remember the name. I had to figure it out. But it makes it so you can just go on there, hit go live, put in your information, hit go live again, and bravo, live on YouTube on your account. It's super simple, and you can use it for stuff like this, or if you're like doing gaming, or just like an ASMR fire, whatever. So super easy. And believe it or not, this is not sponsored, even though it sounds like a script.
Everything's been straight from the hip tonight.
Yeah, believe it or not, none of this is scripted. Especially, well, you can probably believe it seeing how stupid stuff I say is.
Yeah, none of these this series will be scripted. They'll all be just straight off the top of our head, just kind of just chilling, talking.
I'd like to know, even when I'm back in North Carolina, every once in a while, can I get on Discord and join?
Yeah.
Because you can, if I remember correctly, stream stuff like Discord.
We'll figure it out, and we'll do something where we keep doing some live stuff.
That would be fun. It'd give me something better to do than just going to bed early.
I don't know, you seem to do pretty good the whole sleeping thing.
I get it, I fall asleep anyway. Bro, he'll be blasting loud music in the car going down the highway. We could be door dashing or going on an hour trip. I almost immediately fall asleep. I don't know how to do it, but I'm not going to complain. It makes time go fast.
It does. All right. I think we're going to call this a Saturday night. What you think?
So, we just got Kevin.
Yep.
Look around. All right.
All right.
Just click it. Now you're too old to figure it out. Okay. Don't break anything.
There wasn't a stop button on there. Like I had to push it for the stop button up here. I'm facing on the.